As the devastation of Hurricane Harvey dominates the airwaves, another massive flooding event is happening across Southeast Asia, leaving two-thirds of Bangladesh underwater, according to Oxfam. Flooding has inundated eastern India to Mumbai, Karachi, Pakistan, and Nepal. 41 million people have been affected, with the death toll at 1,200 and rising. Rescuers in the Indian city of Mumbai wound down on Friday their search for victims in the ruins of a condemned building that collapsed after pulling 12 survivors and 34 bodies from the rubble, emergency services said. The 117-year-old six-story building in a congested old neighborhood came crashing down early on Thursday after heavy rain had drenched the financial hub for days. Among the dead was a baby, police said. Of the 46 people pulled out, 33 were dead. Meanwhile, floods triggered by torrential rain in India's eastern Bihar province wreaked havoc on Thursday, inundating large swaths of land, destroying crops, and affecting thousands of people. Government officials said at least 514 people have been killed in the worst monsoon floods in years, with thousands sheltered in relief camps away from their inundated homes. Large cities were underwater on Thursday following the overflow of water in the Tahrut Canal. Days of flooding have also destroyed standing crops. Last week, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviewed the flood situation in Bihar and announced a relief package of 5 billion rupees, equivalent to about $78 million, following a meeting with local officials. Life gradually returned to normal in Pakistan's largest city, Karachi, on Friday, a day after 13 people were killed by flooding following heavy monsoon rains, which hit the sprawling metropolis. The deaths were the latest in a disaster that has so far killed more than 1,200 people across the region, encompassing India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. The private Edhi Foundation, which runs ambulances and medical centers, said 350 to 400 houses in low-lying areas were inundated near the Lari River. Countries in the region suffer frequent flooding during the June to September monsoon season, but International Aid Agency says the damage has been worse than usual this year. To talk about the links between climate change and what could be done about it, we reached Neha Kandekar from the Center for Global Environmental Research.
Talking about the impacts of flooding, I, being residing in a metropolitan city myself and traveling in a few others, I have seen the cities collapsing in an event of extreme rainfall, and that's because of a lot of waterlogging that happens. The transportation comes to a halt. One has to wade their way back home or to their destination within these waterlogged roads, full of storm water, which could be unhealthy for your own skin. And it's difficult because if you have to go and pick up your kids, or if you have a medical emergency in such situations, then all the more difficult.
In predominantly agricultural areas of South Asia, typhoons are not rare, and floods are not a total surprise like they've been in Texas, for example. In what way is this unusual? Why are the local populations and governments not better equipped to deal with this?
The flood events or cyclones have been happening in South Asia, but what leaves us unprepared? Why is it difficult to deal with these events? Is probably because the early warning systems not being robust, and even if the warnings are being released by the meteorology department, then probably the dissemination is not up to the mark. It could be better, and the local citizens could be made more aware to deal with such flooding, which could be done by the disaster management department. Which there are examples of how they dealt with cyclones in a better way, and they evacuated everyone in case of Orissa. So something like that could be a role model and could be adopted for different other cases. Then there are stormwater drains and sewage drains, which are not designed to deal with the organically growing urban areas in South Asian region. Um, uh, so these areas are growing because of lack of livelihood opportunities in the back in the villages, and it's really unforeseen. So not just the design, but then even the maintenance and the regular cleaning and not dumping any garbage in the stormwater drain so that they don't get clogged. These sort of things have to be looked into and done done on a frequent basis, and not just at the time of the flood, and then we have to forget about it.
And so in the United States, there's been a concerted effort to undermine climate science, and a large number of Americans doubt that climate change is behind these extreme weather events we're facing in the US and across the world. Talk about what the situation is in Southeast Asia. Do people see the link between these extreme weather events and climate change?
Hmm. Well, based on the perception, so there are perception-based studies that are that the researchers do to collect the understanding of local citizens about the changes that they have observed in their lifetimes, or in the in a span of 2 to 3 generations. So, what I have seen out of such reports and out of the studies that even I have conducted or my team members have conducted, that people do feel the the change in the climate, and when they see such extreme events happening, like a lot of rainfall in a short duration, or uh, reducing number of rainy days, unforeseen. Now some people call it directly by the name of climate change. Some people are not aware of it, but they do tell us that it is something unforeseen. This is something that they or their forefathers have not seen happening in their lifetime.